It started as nothing more than a fitness video. Just another post in the steady stream of gym content from Jonathan Majors and Meagan Good. The couple who had, somehow against all odds, managed to stand hand in hand through months of court dates, gossip headlines, and public skepticism. In the clip, they were doing what they always do, bantering mid-workout, showing off their training routines, proving to the world that they were thriving together. But this time, something was different. Something the internet caught within seconds. It wasn't a change in the exercises. It wasn't the music playing in the background. It was the way Meagan's top curved around her midsection, the way her hand rested protectively over her stomach, the way Jonathan, without fanfare, slid in a comment that stopped viewers in their tracks. Pregnant. He didn't make a big speech. He didn't pose with a sonogram or pop balloons in a staged gender reveal. It was just there, a casual drop, almost like an inside joke between the two of them. But in the age of freeze frames and playback speed controls, nothing like that goes unnoticed. Within minutes, the clip was being slowed down, zoomed in, and screen capped across TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Fans were circling her stomach, pointing out what they swore was a baby bump, debating if the moment was an intentional soft launch or a slip-up. For a couple that's been trying to control their narrative, this was the moment that blew the door open. And that's when Grace Jabari, Jonathan's ex, made her move. To understand why Grace's posts hit so hard, you have to rewind. Grace Jabari wasn't just a name in Jonathan's past. She was at the center of the scandal that derailed his career. The former professional dancer met Jonathan while he was filming Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. By early 2023, she was his girlfriend, and by March of that year, she was making headlines after a late-night altercation in the back of a chauffeured car led to his arrest. Her claims were explosive, that he'd assaulted her, leaving her with visible injuries, and that she'd been emotionally manipulated into protecting him. The fallout was instant. Marvel paused his appearances as Kang the Conqueror. Film projects evaporated. The public turned on him almost overnight. So when Grace suddenly reappeared on Instagram hours after the pregnancy rumors started, people knew it wasn't a coincidence. Her captions were cryptic but cutting. In one, she implied that Meagan had no idea who she was really married to. In another, she claimed that back when everything first went down, she had actually shielded Jonathan from the full consequences. She wrote about not telling the full story, about lying to law enforcement to keep him from deeper trouble, about how she thought she was protecting him. But now, she said, the sympathy was gone. She hinted she had more to say, more to show, and she was done holding back. If her goal was to shift the conversation away from the pregnancy and back to Jonathan's past, it worked instantly. The thing about Grace's new claims, they don't feel like empty threats because receipts, at least some of them, have been public for nearly 2 years. When the original allegations hit the press in 2023, leaked text messages surfaced that painted a complicated picture. Grace could be seen apologizing to Jonathan, promising to take the blame for the altercation, and even offering to lie to both doctors and the police. In one text, she wrote, "Why would I want to tell them what really happened when it's clear I want to be with you?" In another, she told him she'd claimed the injuries were her fault for trying to grab his phone. She even reassured him that the police assured me you won't be charged, and that she would make sure nothing happens about this. But these messages didn't show a one-sided effort. Jonathan, according to reports, allegedly told her not to go to the hospital, warning her that it could trigger an investigation, even if she lied. Those texts were bad enough in 2023. Now, with Grace hinting there's more. More messages, more photos, more proof. It's like a live grenade in Jonathan's redemption story, just waiting to go off. Before we get to the new audio, it's worth remembering what Jonathan Majors lost. In early 2023, Jonathan wasn't just an actor to watch. He was the rising star in Hollywood. From Lovecraft Country to Creed 3 to his role as Kang in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he was positioning himself as the next Denzel-level leading man. Marvel had built their next Avengers arc around him. He was booking magazine covers, high-profile endorsements, and award-season buzz. His name was everywhere, and always tied to success. Then came March 25th, 2023. One arrest, One set of accusations and the carefully built image started to collapse. By December 2023, he was convicted of misdemeanor assault and harassment. Marvel quietly removed him from the Kang role. His film magazine Dreams was shelved by Disney, despite months of critical hype. Jonathan went from the industry's golden boy to one of its most radioactive names in less than a year. That's why the pregnancy reveal was so important to him. It wasn't just personal, it was part of the public-facing redemption arc. But for Grace, that same reveal was a signal to remind everyone why the fall happened in the first place. In March 2025, Page 6 dropped something that made headlines all over again. Audio from September 2022, months before Jonathan's arrest. In the recording, Jonathan's voice is clear. "I never wrestled with a woman before. That's never happened to me." He doesn't shout, he doesn't threaten, but the admission is there. Hands around her neck, an altercation that escalated beyond words. For his critics, it was confirmation of what they'd been saying for 2 years. For his supporters, it was a complication they couldn't easily explain away. And for Grace, it was fuel. Proof that her warnings weren't just bitterness or jealousy, but grounded in something the world could now hear for itself. The question wasn't if the audio was damaging. It was how much more she had like it. Grace isn't the only one who's spoken out. In February 2023, before any of this hit the press, filmmaker A.B. Allen tweeted about a relatively new actor adored online but described privately as vicious and cruel. He didn't name names. But when Jonathan's arrest made headlines, someone replied to that tweet with, "Now we know who this was about." Allen's reply, "Ding, ding, ding." Then there was Tim Nicolai, who worked with Jonathan in New York theater. His tweet was even more blunt. "Folks in the NYC theater community have known about him for years. He's a sociopath and abuser. It's a shame it took this long for him to be reported." These weren't anonymous accusations. They were public statements tied to real names and real careers. And they added weight to Grace's every word. What makes all of this even more complicated is Meagan Good's own story. When she was married to Pastor Devin Franklin, she made it clear in interviews that having children wasn't on her radar. She said it more than once, and at times it seemed like a firm boundary. But after her divorce was finalized in 2022, Meagan's tone changed. By 2023, she was openly talking in interviews about wanting to start a family. In one clip, she lit up as she admitted she'd been thinking about motherhood more seriously than ever before. So when she started dating Jonathan Majors in 2023, right in the middle of his legal troubles, it wasn't long before fans were speculating about whether she'd follow through on those family plans. Now, if the gym clip is to be believed, she has. Jonathan Majors wanted this pregnancy news to be the next chapter in his comeback. Proof that he'd moved on, built a stable life, and was ready to be seen as more than the man from the headlines. But with Grace Jabari back in the picture, hinting at unreleased evidence and already backed by public statements from people in his industry, that narrative is hanging by a thread. If she follows through, if the photos, the messages, the recordings she says she has are released, the redemption arc could end before it begins. And Meagan Good? She's now part of the story whether she wants to be or not. The question is whether she'll stand by him if the next wave hits as hard as Grace is promising. Because make no mistake, Grace isn't just talking about the past, she's warning about the present. And when exes in Hollywood make promises like that, the ending is rarely quiet.